Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
Jay, I have a tweet thread that I'd like to read you.
Okay, I have a tweet to read to you as well.
Yeah, it's a Twitter-filled episode of Look Forward today because again we are in the dumbest timeline.
Yeah,
it's been 6 days since we recorded our last episode, and of course we talked about the impending downfall of Roe in our last episode for an hour and a half. And the speed to which Republicans in this country have mobilized and just opened their mouths and let the stupidest things possible fly out of their mouth has set a new warp speed record for this.
Yes.
So I would like to read to you, Jay, and this comes courtesy of Max Burns, a pretty, I don't know if I call it comprehensive, but a pretty long list of all of the GOP's anti-choice extremism, their radical anti-choiceness that they've rolled out since the leak of the Supreme Court decision last week. So
and some of these, I'm sure we will go into detail.
Yes.
Considering
so, buckle up. Here we go. An Arizona Senate candidate called for a state ban on condoms. Marsha Blackburn, everyone's favorite crazy cat lady, calls for a contraception ban unless you're married. Mitch McConnell says he floated the idea of a possible national abortion ban, which I know we're going to talk about shortly here. The Missouri GOP is debating a bill to ban women from traveling out of state for abortions. How the fuck do you police that? I wonder. If you're pregnant, you're not allowed to cross state lines. Interesting. The Louisiana GOP wants to declare that life begins at fertilization of an egg. So, wow. Crazy. The Tennessee GOP passed a law that makes it a felony with a $50,000 fine to receive abortion medication through the mail.
Yeah, that's apparently very popular, by the way.
Yeah. What else we got here? The Arkansas Republican Party triggered a law that will make it a felony to obtain an abortion. North Dakota's governor, Kristi Noem, pledged a special legislative session to pass new abortion restrictions in case they're out when the Roe decision formally drops. Oklahoma adopted Texas, their bounty hunter law. So reporting people who are getting abortions. The Ohio GOP is currently debating trigger laws right now that would ban abortion outright in Ohio once Roe's overturned. They're also trying to reinstate a fetal heartbeat law. Idaho's passing a law authorizing civil lawsuits against abortion clinics and providers. West Virginia's leaving in place a 19th century law that's anti-abortion that makes obtaining an abortion punishable by up to 10 years in prison. Our favorite Florida Senator Marco Rubio wants to introduce federal legislation to punish private companies, the party of small government, that provide travel benefits for women to obtain abortions in states where it is legal. The Kansas GOP wants to remove abortion protections guaranteed to Kansans by their state constitution, and the Alaska GOP has decided that they want to just reject their own state's court rulings on abortion, and they want to call a state constitutional convention to permanently criminalize abortion in the state of Alaska. Idaho Republicans want to, they're openly discussing the idea of banning Plan B and IUDs, quite possibly. Let's see, North Carolina GOP folks want to make it their main priority to pass full abortion criminalization in 2023. I could go on because there is more, but I've been talking for literally 4 minutes of all the fucking fuckhousery that the GOP has been doing in the last 6 days.
Yeah, and I'll be way too drunk by the time you get to the end of that list. Let's all pretend, and we are going to talk about these things in detail and the sort of implications of a lot of these. Some of those I hadn't even heard.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Now, take all of that you heard and because I like to not think about politics in a vacuum, right? Because I think a lot of times we weirdly do that, not us, but as a country, we do this law passes, and that's all that happens, or these guys propose this, and that's all that happens, as if it doesn't have downstream effects, right? Obviously, the leak about the Roe v. Wade decision has massive implications, right? That's why you're getting all this. Remember the things on that list, the things that probably piss you off the most. Some of them are insane. All of them are insane. Some of them are somehow more insane than the others. And then remember that prominent people who refer to themselves as progressives and liberals, who have, internet shows and shit like that, went on and did these big sprawling speeches and made news headlines and all this other shit and tweeted and got retweeted thousands of times. And they were, praised and all this other stuff for their powerful statements on how they're upset and they're really pissed off and they're done with the Democratic Party and they're done with the squad because those people didn't do anything. In the face of all of the things that Brad said, they're just not going to vote. And they would advocate to their listeners to not vote. They would advocate to their supporters to not vote or to vote third party. Because somehow in their minds, the Green Party will somehow have 60 candidates who are running. By the way, there's no way there's even 60 candidates running from the Green Party, probably across the board, let alone for the Senate. They're willing to just throw all of that away and allow these people to get more power. Because
don't worry though, because even when that happens, they will still be here to complain about liberalism, even as America slides into right-wing theocracy.
Yeah. Democrats still didn't do enough as they're pushing us into the gulags. Joe Biden didn't give enough discounts on fucking student debt, and that's what really matters, right? As they're putting women into their red habits and forcing them to be brood mares for the rich. It'll be okay because you didn't vote for Hillary and you feel really good about that. So, your moral clarity, you're morally fine, right? So let's jump right into it. I was angry last week. This week, I don't want to say I'm angry as much as I'm just like, this is what we're doing? I get, I understand the anger, and I was angry at a lot of people who I thought were focusing their energy on the wrong things, right? Last week. 100%. I don't take any of it back. Fuck those people last week and fuck them today, right? I don't change my mind on that. But I was angry, and that's fine. And they were angry, and maybe they were misguided in their anger. After this week, y'all still on this? Y'all still on the same argument that voting isn't going to fix this? These guys are talking about banning condoms. We're not even talking about hormonal solutions.
It's not enough. It's not enough to take care of the baby to take care of the baby that you don't want, that you are already impregnated with, Jay. We're taking it down to abstinence, baby. You don't want a baby? Don't have sex. There's your choices.
There you go. I was talking to Micah, and I don't like to give him credit for being smart, because he isn't. No, but he said something I thought was really quite smart and pretty profound. He said, people on the right, their whole identity is fighting. Right? We're going to fight back against tyranny. Dude, tyranny is not asking you to put, to wear shoes and a shirt in a McDonald's. It's not tyranny. Relax.
It is when you're a straight white man, Jay. I was thinking, not to derail your point. I was thinking about this today, that it's so weird that all of these regressive policies are always spearheaded by straight white men, because they are the only group in this country's history and pretty much the world who have never had rights taken away from them on account of being a straight white man. They've had rights taken away from them
as a general
that are taken away from everybody.
Right, but they've never experienced special.
They've never been singled out for being straight white and male. So
they would say
other people.
They would say otherwise. They're not allowed to say the N-word, Brad.
Well, no, but that's my point. Because they've never actually been restricted from freedoms for that reason, and they see other people who rightfully claim oppression, they naturally think to themselves, well, oppression must exist everywhere. I just need to find the thing that us straight white men are oppressed about. And so they find these pseudo grievances to basically attack and be no, my freedoms are being encroached on because I too must have freedoms that are encroached on, because it can't possibly be that
right. I mean, I would apply that to white people in general, but white women have had to deal with issues white women have never had a thing specifically against them either. They've had things against women, No, against women.
Oh, okay, fair.
But
yeah.
all women have dealt with those things. But there's not been a carve out for white women that like you can't do X, right? So they also sit at the right hand of power, and like, look, I have made the personal thing, and I am going tonight. I have this thing that I feel about myself that I did not want to break. I had a rule that I didn't want to break. But tonight I'm going to break it. I used to be, and I'll mention them by name. This is a part of the rule for me. I used to be a huge fan of TYT, right? Young Turks. I used to be, like, back in the day, absolutely huge fan. Listened every day. It was like, this is way before I started, like doing a political show, like big fan, right? And I watched them over the last number of years, like, become more and more ardent. And I was just like, they used to be like a show where they were a show of nuance. That doesn't mean like they were like, hey, we support right-wing shit. Like, but they were just a show of nuance, right? Like, I didn't 100% agree with them all the time. I'm not some sort of fucking sycophant. But like, probably 90% of the time, I was like, yeah, that's fucking dead on. And I always thought like Jank had some pretty smart things to say. He's a blowhard, but like, hello, so am I. Like, so like, who am I to judge, right? Who am I to judge? So, but I always fundamentally liked them, and I also liked Anna, right? And like, I watched them I remember watching them when Obama won, and I remember how happy they were, right? Like, people who watch them now could never wrap their heads around the idea that like they literally had a massive celebration in studio live when he won. I remember it. I absolutely remember it. Vivid as I remember anything else, right? And then I watched them in 2016. Like, I watched them over the course of Obama's presidency, like, you know, like, overly criticize him, I thought, to the point that I thought, like, some things were, like, ridiculous. Like, some things were totally valid, right? And I was like, all right, this is, like, I get it, right? You're anti-establishment. I get it. But then I watched them in 2016, where they then latched on to Bernie, and they did an interview with him. And it's like a defining moment in their history where they changed. And I watched them change so fundamentally that they lost all nuance. They became the left's version of the right, like hardcore right wingers, right? It was like nuance was dead. None of that shit mattered. It only mattered that our side is right, your side is wrong. Fuck anything in the middle. It's all stupid. Let's all, aim to the left. And I understand where the anger came from. But the reason why I mention this, why I'm breaking my rule about mentioning them directly, and specifically mentioning Anna, is I had a lot of respect for Anna. And I watched her give this speech after Roe, after this leak. And it was like a big thing that like went big and viral. And she's like, oh, look, I'm done with the Democratic Party. I'm done with the squad. They're not doing anything and all this other stuff. And I realized like, oh, you guys don't actually want to fix anything. You actually you have the luxury. Now, Anna's Armenian, so I don't mean to like be disrespectful, but I think she largely like would say that she's just a white woman in America, right? Like I don't know that specifically, so I'm not trying to be rude or anything. But I think she largely identifies as white. And the reason why I say that is not to denigrate her by any means, but it's to say that like I don't get to give up. You giving up and saying, I'm just done with Democrats, I'm just done with the squad, that's your white privilege speaking. And when I heard her say that, like, I was like, oh, you guys don't actually give a fuck. You don't give a fuck. Like, you give a fuck about your business, you give a fuck about your fans, and you give a fuck about how big you get. And there's nothing, look, I'm sure somebody would listen and be like, oh, you're jealous. Dude, I would love to have their money and power and influence. It's great. I'm not going to pretend like I wouldn't, but not at the expense of killing all nuance to become popular. I just wouldn't. So I say all of that to get back to what Micah said, which I think is accurate. The right is so hell bent on like fighting, right? They're always fighting for tyranny, whatever that means, right? Like, I can't have 20-ounce sodas is tyranny, right? Like they're fighting for no fucking reason, like quite literally in New York. Like that's like a big fucking right-wing argument, right? Why can't I have a 50-ounce fucking big gulp? Like they're so upset, right? So they're so obsessed with fighting with tyranny. But on the left, and I thought this was a really profound point that he made, on the left, they would rather give up power so that they can make the fight harder to then fight, right? They don't want to fight on the grounds of, hey, why don't we just vote and get these guys, like, get power and then just, like, sustain life and then just be fine. They would rather cede power, let Republicans gain power so that they can always be on the defensive and fight uphill. Like, it doesn't have to be this fucking hard. If we keep voting in midterms and in, presidential year elections and actually come out and vote for the people that we want to and not just give up, guess what? You can secure Roe. You can secure Medicare for all. They don't actually want to fix anything. Because if you wanted to fix it, you wouldn't say, I'm going to give up. If your argument, like hers and many others, is that we need to codify this Roe and into law, and since Obama and Clinton didn't do it, they're pieces of shit, right? But you're not willing to vote for the people who can codify the law. So pick a lane. Pick an argument. You either want to codify the law. Guess what? You're not going to get 60 Green Party people in there, so you better use the people that you got. But you don't want to actually do that. What you want to do is you want to bitch and complain. And bitching and complaining is good for your brand. It's good for your brand. And look, I get it. I run a business. I understand. But I wouldn't run my business at the expense of my own morality. That's a little fucking weird. What it sounds like is that you sound like a fucking right-wing grifter. Just saying. So I broke my rule by naming people directly, which I don't really do. Because for me, they were a large inspiration for a lot of my politics early on. And I looked up to them because I thought, here these guys, they came from nothing. They came from nothing. And they were really small and they fucking made it and they had massive influence. And I watched them throw it all away to gain more power. So I ask, Brad, you're a cynical fuck just like me.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen to us.
That's fine. I mean, I won't let that happen to us.
Unless it's a lot of money, Brad. Unless it's a lot of money.
That's true. We we have a price. You just have to figure out what it is.
Right. Look. It's not. Look. In order to sell out, somebody's got to buy in. All right. That's all I'm saying.
Right. That's right. I think a lot of the issue too that we have in the left, and again, this is prevalent largely across white people, is a lot of the young white folks that have gotten in on progressivism are recent to the game, and much like anything else, if you go to play a new game and you don't find a lot of success in it right away, it's very easy to get bored, especially when you don't really have a lot of skin in the game. And I think that's another problem that we run with is we're really good at cultivating new voters. We're really bad at keeping new voters because we're not very good at expectation setting up front.
Yeah.
People are there's a lot of criticism of Biden because they're like, oh, he promised this during the campaign. He promised that during the campaign. Yeah, that's what presidents do. Presidents promise a lot of shit during the campaign. Yeah, and that's a lot of it. A lot of it doesn't. Yeah, a lot of it doesn't happen because of the realities of government and because running a country is hard and you can only focus your attention in so many different directions in a 4-year term.
But a king would get it done, Brett. A king.
Yeah, by waving his wand and saying and decreeing it so. And so I think that's another problem is that a lot of folks that have come in on the left and were brought in by the Bernie Sanders wing of the campaign and stuff like that. Bernie also made a lot of big promises that he had no hope of actually fulfilling. FYI, if he had won, frankly, almost all of the shit that he promised would not have fucking come to fruition because he didn't have the votes. Because again, we live in a democracy. That's the new Jerry Seinfeld thing. Yeah. I mean, and you have to have votes. You have to have people that are there. And, people are talking about the Democrats why is Chuck Schumer going to propose legislation to, pass, codify abortion when he knows he doesn't have the votes? And so we can say, hey, look, we finished, 2 votes short of this. get us 2 more Democrats to that'll vote for this in the Senate, like in the midterms. Like
again,
it's so you can message around it. It's so you can message around it.
I mean, it's also to message around it. It's also to shut people up. Like, why do you guys just codify it?
It won't shut anybody up.
But it's like, but their part of their goal is like codify it. We think we don't want to? Like, we don't have the votes. We don't have the votes.
But again, those same people would then say, you know, like, codify it. All right, we're going to vote for it, and then it doesn't pass. Like, why would you put it up for a vote if it wasn't going to pass? Like, make up your minds.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Pick a lane, man. You either want to codify the shit and vote for people who can, or you say, I'm not going to vote for these people, then I'm not really sure what you want. You know who also does weird, like, here's 2 options and they don't take either one, but then they just continue to bitch and complain about the situation. You know who does that all the time? My daughter. She's 2 years old. Do you want like pudding or yogurt? I want applesauce. Yeah, that's not one of the options we have. But I want applesauce. We don't have applesauce. And tantrum. Well, what the fuck, man? like that's who these people are. And to me, like, I saw an argument today, and we got to get into topics here. But I saw an argument today where someone was like, "Well, the Overton window has shifted." Stop talking about the fucking Overton window. You are talking about a theoretical thing that does nothing for you. Republicans are passing shit. This is the problem. You are let's talk about theoreticals and things that make us feel good. Talk about the shit that moves the needle. Stop talking about fantasies. That guy today, some Harvard fucking guy. Oh, there's 4 easy steps to fix this problem.
Oh, it was Lawrence Tribe.
He's wrong. You're fucking wrong, dude.
A smart guy. And he's like sitting there like, here's what you have to do. Like, cool. Explain how.
Right. Oh, all we need to do is kill the filibuster. 1, how? Kill the filibuster. 2, pass a law that says you can add 4 more votes to the Supreme Court. Let's say you get 51 votes for that one, which you wouldn't. But let's just to be nice, let's say that, cool, step 2, we got it. You get it passed. Well, then you just put on 4 more judges on the Supreme Court. Who's voting for them? Like, I read it. I was like, this guy has a Harvard, like, he's got a link to like his Harvard University shit. I'm like, I have an education from Baltimore City. And I blew up your fucking idea in 2 seconds. It doesn't work. Stop tweeting bullshit ideas to make people feel good. Stop. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. We are in a world of trouble, and there's nobody coming. There's nobody coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. You save yourself by voting. Not by giving up, not doing the white woman thing of, oh, I'm upset, and then giving up, crossing your arms and fucking sitting in the corner. Get your ass in the game. You got to fight.
Meanwhile, people on the far left are like, I swear to God, if they fucking tell us that, like, we got to get out and vote this fall again, I'm going to fucking lose it. I'm just like, I'm open to other suggestions. Like, if you want to somehow,
what's the new one?
Concoct here, I've got a suggestion for you that's completely batshit insane, but it would work. Concoct a grand assassination plot to kill Republican senators in states that have Democratic governors so we can get enough senators.
Right, like, what are you talking about? Like, what is your plan? First we need to murder 3 Supreme Court justices. Okay. Like, that's a bit wild. Maybe don't write that down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't put your name on it. But, like, what is your argument? There is no argument. If you want to fix this thing, the only way to fix it is to vote. It's the only thing to fix it. Like, what you have to do is the Supreme Court is going to 100% drop this shit before the midterms. The only thing you can do is get enough people, codify the law. That's it. That's it.
Those are your choices. And again, like, we are playing... It, like to Micah's point, like we like to make it harder. It's hard enough,
right? What are you doing?
Like gerrymandering is a thing that exists. Disproportionate representation of Republicans in state governments and in just state races in general, which is what the Senate is, exists. Like, it's already there.
Like these guys would rather give up all power until, the United States is a full fascist state, and then they're like, now it's time to fight. How about no? How about no? How about we fight right now by walking our asses to the ballot box so that we don't have to bring guns with us? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to get it to a point where this is a television movie. Like, you can get to the point where it's just boring. Let's keep it at the boring part where we just vote these guys the fuck out.
Well, and here's the other problem too, is that people have been talking about abortion because it's like a 70%, like, people think that abortion should exist in the country. It's a 70% issue. Half of Republicans are like that. And people are like, oh, like, we could peel off Republican votes for Democratic candidates. You won't.
Don't do that.
Because the problem is those Republicans that support abortion support other Republican stuff more. They care about it more, and they'll still vote for Republicans because of the other shit. They're not gonna cross the aisle and vote for your guy just because Republicans overturned abortion. Like, that's not gonna happen. You just need more you need more Democratic voters to come out and vote. That's the only way it can happen.
It's naive, Like, it's incredibly naive, and I am flabbergasted, right? There's a good word. I am flabbergasted at the idea that people think that type of shit would work.
Yeah.
Like, vote is boring. It's a boring, lame, nerd answer, but voting. Don't talk about the Overton window. Don't talk about how you and your brother feel about it. Don't talk about giving up. Just take your ass to the ballot box, dude. That's it. You don't have to do nothing else. You don't have to call anybody. You don't have to go door to door. You don't have to wear a sandwich, a sandwich sign that says vote Biden 2024. You don't have to do none of that. Just take your ass to the ballot and put the check mark next to the Democrat. That's it. That's it. There are more of us than there are them.
Mm-hmm.
There are. We just don't vote because we got to fall in love. Here's an idea. Just get it done. Fall in love with somebody you have sex with. I don't need to fall in love with Joe Biden at all. Like, at all. I don't need to fall in love with any Democrat on the ballot. My wife is the person I'm in love with. I don't give a fuck about a bunch of old white men in the Senate. Get the fuck out of here. Just do your job. Just do your job. Like, stop. Oh, I have to have a love affair with the president. No, you don't. This is a job. We are hiring this person for a job. That's it. I'm not in love with the dude who works at McDonald's. Just make my fucking sandwich.
But Jay, this Democratic candidate received money from this corporation or special interest that I don't agree with.
Good. That means they got money to fly their ass around and pretend to give a shit about my problems. Just vote for the thing I asked you to vote for. Like, it's crazy to me that people are trying to, like, equivocate Trump and Hillary on the abortion issue. Well, whatever. Would it really have been that big of a difference? She wanted to get rid of the Hyde Act.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just protect Roe. She wanted to get rid of the idea that the government doesn't spend money on funding things that are
but I was
abortion.
about to say, I'm glad you explained it.
By the way, that's a pretty far left perspective. Like, that's not a mainstream Democratic argument. That's on the left. Zero credit for that shit. Zero credit.
Is it on the left? Because I bet you if you polled an average progressive, they wouldn't even know what the fuck the Hyde Act is.
Well, I'm not talking about the people who faux pretend to understand things and know. But I'm talking about people who know what the Hyde Act is. Yeah. I would argue that that is a staunchly not even far left, but like a real leftist person, not just center left, but a real leftist person who would say, yes, the Hyde Act needs to also be knocked down because they're that deep in the weeds. No, they're like, I don't think there's been any other Democratic candidate. Like, maybe Obama was like probably for it, but like didn't like actually go for it.
I don't know that he was, honestly. Yeah, like again, Obama was not like didn't campaign that progressively. Like, right. He did on a few things, but for the most part,
right. He was like center left. Yeah, he was like center left. So and that's fine. But like, she advocated as a woman, as the first woman with a real chance to be president, she advocated for killing the Hyde Act. That's bold. That's a brave move. She didn't have to. She could have said nothing. I mean, it wasn't the difference between her winning and losing, but she could have said nothing, got in, and then been like, yeah, get rid of that shit. Like, but she didn't. She ran on that shit. So, like, I am thoroughly disgusted by the apathy and talking out of both sides of their mouth bullshit from the left. Congratulations on your speech, Anna. It was fucking worthless if you're not willing to fight anymore. It's worthless. Congratulations. Don't talk about yourself being from Rebel headquarters. You're not. You're not. You're sitting there. That's the name of their studio, but it's fine. But like, don't talk about that. Because you're not anymore. You're not. Like, sometimes you got to fight against, like, it's not just fighting for the sake of fighting. You sound like a right winger. Like, it's fighting smartly. Let the other side fight just for the sake of fighting. We fight smartly. If you got to join up with people who slightly disagree with you just so we can all get along to fucking protect people, that's what you do. But if you're not willing to even do that, what the fuck are you there for? You're just a white woman getting rich off of this shit. We're here trying to actually get shit changed, trying to get things moving. That's what you should be doing. That's what you used to stand for. And then you got in bed with one candidate and it fucked your entire perspective up. It did. It's a little weird. But it makes sense. Because he doesn't believe in nuance either. Not really. Bernie doesn't really believe in nuance. He doesn't.
He's a fucking, like I said, he's the sloganeering campaign guy. Right.
And look, yeah, like, I don't hate Bernie, but like, you never gonna be president, and you never should have been. Like, that would have been a terrible idea. You know, sloganeered us right into nothingness. Like, you ain't get shit done, and everyone would be like, Bernie sucks, all liberals suck, and then they would have thrown us back 40 years of like any progress because you got your ultimate liberal in there, and he couldn't do shit. So, but you know, whatever. Bernie would have done it all. To believe that is fucking madness. Speaking of madness, human turtle hybrid Mitch McConnell says national abortion ban is possible.
I should have expected that, but still hit me like a haymaker.
Yeah, man. Like, look, I gotta keep one in the chamber, man. Always. Fuck that guy. So Mitch McConnell said in an interview with USA Today that a national abortion ban is in fact possible if Roe v. Wade gets overturned this summer. Quote, if the leaked opinion became the final opinion, legislative bodies, not only at the state level, but at the federal level, certainly could legislate in that area. And if that were the final decision, I love it. If it were. Okay, yeah, they're going to change it, dude. They're going to be fucking pro-choice. Oh, absolutely. And if it were the final decision, that was the point that it should be resolved one way or another in the legislative process. So, yeah, it's possible. Like, did y'all not? Yeah. Y'all thought it was going to only be in the states? You thought it was not going to be a federal ban? Come on now. Of course.
They're at least going to try.
Mike,
if they get the numbers.
Right. My question is, on what grounds? Are they going to go for the privacy law grounds?
They can't. That got knocked down. Like, if you come with privacy law, then Alito, surely a man of principle as he is, could not possibly vote.
Right. He would never change
to hold that up. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Like I guess you could. I mean, if you criminalize it, then there you go.
But like, they're not attacking it based on religion.
Right.
Like they're not saying this is because it's a Judeo-Christian, blah 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 blah. Because you lose in that. Right. I just wonder what's the argument for making it a federal ban?
I mean, they would that's what they would do. They would equate it to murder. They would basically have to put in the law, like, establishing where life begins, which is also batshit insane. But go
what?
For that. Yeah, go for it if you want to.
I want them to do that. I want them to. And here's why. Here's a little known fact. I want them to go after life begins at conception, because this country is a country of religious freedom, and it turns out, little known fact, Jews don't believe life begins at conception. That is written into their religion. Life begins at birth. So you cannot force a Jewish woman you cannot take away the right, because abortion is totally legal and reasonable under Jewish law. Now, I'm sure they're like crazy fundamentalists don't agree with that, but those people are fucking nut jobs. But that's not what the Torah actually says. If they were to do that, you would be denying Jewish women their religious right. Mm-hmm. And apparently, I've got a buddy of mine who's Jewish and who's like very religious guy, like very, very, and also very well read on like sort of Jewish traditions and Jewish laws and stuff like that. See, we can all be friends, even us atheists. And he was telling me, he was like, and he works for a Jewish organization and everything else. He was like, you would not believe the level of mobilization that is happening in the Jewish community by Jewish women on this topic, because it is their right. Like,
you could arguably, like, Jewish women could arguably find someone in a state that's outlawing it, or going along those lines, challenging that on those grounds as well.
And that's exactly the plan. That's exactly the plan. And they should, because if you're telling women that they do not have this right, then you have to say that they don't have the right base that it's okay to ignore their religion.
But so let me offer a hypothetical counter argument then. Where does that
go ahead, Joseph Goebbels? Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go. Where do you draw the line there? Because, like, what if I have a religion that says that, like, oh, murder is fine, like you can murder whoever you want to? Like,
they would argue that doesn't count because it's like this is the weird thing about how religion in the government works. Like, your religion ain't old enough. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically it. That's like, basically
so what if,
and it's not big enough.
What if, like,
it's not big enough?
Okay, so let me just apply that hypothetical elsewhere. So what if let's just say Christianity makes, like, they decided murder's legal now. Pope's like, murder's cool. Like, we're striking that commandment from the list.
Wow.
It's good. What happens then? You know what I mean? Like, if you kill someone, like, oh, you can't put me in jail because I was just following my religious tenets.
Well, I would argue that they would be real quick to make sure that church and state shit, that wall stayed pretty fucking tight. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you say that life begins at conception, then or like, was it Louisiana says fertilization, which is fucking like, that just sounds.
That
somehow
essentially is
the same thing, but it sounds absolutely insane because we don't know when a child, like, when an egg is fertilized. We're not like, oh, that was it. Like, we don't. Yeah. Our penises don't know, guys, and women's bodies don't say, oh, that was it. Like, send a signal to the brain. Like, that's not how it works, right? So, like, if you say that,
to be clear, neither of us are lawyers, and this would be arguments for lawyers to argue in front of other lawyers. Like,
sure.
Like, so, like, I'm just idly speculating.
Quite literally the dumbest fucking argument in a courtroom ever. but what I'm saying is, if you say that life begins at fertilization or conception, what you're saying is that their religion carve out is bullshit, and you can't do that. Because it is one of the old religions that we respect. That's why they get tax exempt status and everything else. Like, you would either have to do a weird carve out that only Jewish people can get abortions. Never gonna happen. Or you have to somehow say that it is okay to discriminate against people based on their religion. And if that's the case, which
violates First Amendment,
you can't do. So, look, if you're an anti-Semite, you might want to shut the fuck up. Jewish people might be saving us all, like, because it's the best argument we have. It is. It's the best. It is quite literally the best argument we have. And, like, outside of like knocking this down from a purely using religion as a weapon, as a fucking weapon against this bullshit Christian zealot.
That's never
behavior.
happened in the history of humanity.
We are gonna have, Brad. I would make the argument to save women's rights. We might have to start a crusade. I'm just saying. we might have to do it. We might have to do it.
But to convert to Judaism first. Like, what the hell?
Hey, look, that would be hilarious. Like, they're like, fine, there's a carve out for Jewish people only, and then there's just a mass of people who are like, yeah, I'm Jewish today. Like, whatever. Rabbis are just yeah, come on in.
Well, and that's like most Jewish folks I know are very practical, And
Yes,
so they would all right, let's create like the expedited conversion process for
They would.
Like, well, you'll have like drive-through conversion centers that you can be like, all right, Jewish, you're good.
Yeah, like, hey, look. I would look at that as the same way as if I ever went to prison. I'm immediately Muslim because I don't want to get raped, and I'm black. I'm joining the Muslims right up until the moment I get out of jail. I'm back to being atheist. Like, that's terrible.
And then you could, and then what could you do? Oh, after you have the abortion, you could you could do the Seinfeld.
What's that?
I renounce my religion.
I renounce my religion. That's right. Yeah, because you're supposed to be like Greek Orthodox or some shit like that. Fucking hilarious. Yeah, I like a national ban. Like, I don't think it would work. And look, if we're talking state to state, I think that's the way you knock it down. There's Jewish people everywhere, man. Just get a Jewish lady to move there and be like, nah, son, not today. Well, like, not today.
Everywhere. I mean, most places. Like, I don't know how many Jews there are in Wyoming.
Look. We need to airdrop Jewish families into every state. Like, we got plenty of them in Maryland and New York. In Florida, airdrop them. Like, look, Florida, you ain't getting this shit through. Knock it the fuck off. Like, get out of here. Like, airdrop Jewish women across all 50 states and let's fuck them up. Come on, man. Like, get out of here. Like, look, get Ruth in there, fuck them up. Like, this is the move. Like, from a religious standpoint, like, using Judaism and their stance on abortion is the move. Like, it is. Yep. I think it's a super smart move, and I hope they do it. Because, like, I want to see you psychopaths tell Jews that they're not allowed to do shit in their own religion. Because that's definitely a thing you psycho fucking zealots on the Christian right are into, right? All right, cool. Again, never forget, like you said, this is a 70-30 issue. 70% of this country is like, yeah, who the fuck cares? Like, what are we doing? And this is the 30%. You got to knock these people the fuck out of the box, man. You have to. So,
like I said, the thing that just puzzles me, and again, this is my logic brain, popping through here. I just can't understand how. Forget how you feel about abortion. I can't understand why anyone would be accepting of the government these people claim to be for small government, but how they're okay with the government telling another person what they can and cannot do with their body.
Well, we told them what they can and cannot do about masks, so this is payback.
It's the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? An abortion that doesn't affect anyone versus you coughing at the local pick and save over everybody else, giving them all a possibly deadly virus. 6 on one hand, half a dozen deaths on the other. Like, whatever, right? Doesn't matter. Because that's how right-wingers think. Nuance, what the fuck is that? So next up, the docket is having problems. Do you still have it up?
Oh, I do. So Tate Reeves went on State of the Union on Sunday for some fucking reason. And basically, like, Jake Tapper asked him, is Mississippi going to, pass legislation to rule out like banning contraceptives and things like that? And Tate Reeves basically like passed the buck and waffled on the answer, and then said, quote, "My view is that the next phase of the pro-life movement is focusing on helping those moms that maybe have an unexpected and unwanted pregnancy. And while I'm sure there'll be conversations around America regarding contraceptives, it's not something that we've spent a ton of time focused on." And he's just trying to like kick the can down the road. And he, like, I watched part of this interview because he said, basically like, hey, like, we want to make sure that we have, things in place for, these women so that if they, they have their baby, they don't want it, we have foster care set up to make sure that these kids are being taken care of and this, that, or the other thing. And then Jake Tapper clapped back. He's like, you guys are like 50th in education. You guys are like fifth, like
number one in infant mortality.
Yeah. Number one. 50th in infant mortality. You guys are all the shit you've been in, to Tate Reeves, like, you've been in Mississippi government for 18 years. Nothing's improved. Why should people believe you? Like why should women in your state believe what you're saying?
They shouldn't.
That you're going to help these people.
So, okay, first off, let me get my dig in first. Tate Reeves looks like a live action Peter Griffin. Fuck that guy.
He does.
Like, just as a side.
Again, another one of those guys, like, he is, his shittiness aside, like, completely devoid of a personality that it's just like, how did you win this election? Like how did you win these popularity contests?
I scraping the bottom of the barrel is what I assume Mississippi had to do to get to that dick bag. You don't give a shit about women who have unwanted pregnancies except for to force them to be broodmares. That's it. Like, full stop. It's not just Mississippi. That's a Republican Party in general, but specifically about Mississippi, you don't give a fuck about that. For a state that suffers massively from piss poor education, piss poor healthcare, piss poor fucking everything. They are 49 and 50th in almost every single thing in this country.
You could make the objective opinion that Mississippi is literally the worst state to live in the United States of America.
It is. And I know what you're thinking. Why is that, Jay? And here's a statistic that maybe some people don't know, and they fucking should know. Mississippi has the highest number of black people in this country of any states, like 33% or something like that. Mm-hmm. Shocking news that white people will let the state go to complete and utter shit because there's a bunch of black people who live there. That's all. Like, you guys do know that Mississippi, up until recently,
had the Confederate flag literally on their state flag.
I know that is also true, but that's not even what I was going to say.
That's not even where you were going?
No. I have another terrible thing about Mississippi that just ended, right? There's so many. Just until recently, they picked their governors like how we do the Electoral College. Like, it wasn't even a direct election.
Well, see, now that explains how Tate Reeves could become governor.
So you see it. You see it too.
Let's take this terrible system that we have for the country and bring it down to the state level because it's working so well for the rest of us.
Abso-fucking-lutely, man. Look, I don't believe him. And I don't believe him because my brain fucking works. Right? This guy's a fucking liar, and they're 100% going to pass a total ban on contraceptives. Mm-hmm. Now, I was going to wait until our next story, which is insane, but let's just make it right now, and we'll fucking combine it, right? Arizona GOP Senator candidate Blake, this dickhead says that we should ban condoms. Condoms, dick bags, quite literally. We should ban them.
His name is Blake Masters, which is Blake a shame Masters. That it's that such a great name is wasted on this piece of shit.
I mean that's like a No Time to Bleed movie star if I've ever heard one. Blake Masters. So like, this guy says, "Hey, why don't we go ahead and just ban condoms?" Which I would argue is a totally reasonable perspective to have if you're a fucking insane person, right? Like, that's an insane person's argument.
Jay, we all know that the sole purpose of condoms is to prevent pregnancy. They're not used for anything else.
Anything else, Brad? When dudes are trying to pick up chicks in the club right now, as they're listening to this, on their way to the club, as you do on a Saturday night. You want to get your politics in before you hit the club. Those dudes having a condom in their wallet from 1985, the 100% thing that they're worried about is, man, I just don't want to knock a chick up. Not STDs, no, or STIs. Like, no, that's not what they're worried about, Brad. No. The number one fucking reason people wear condoms is so they don't get fucking venereal diseases, dude. Pregnancy not happening is a bonus. It's a bonus. It's a bonus.
It's not even the main feature.
It's not. Like, you're just like, oh shit, my dick is not going to be infected? Cool. And she's not pregnant? Dude, double down, man. That's awesome. Thanks, Dorex. Holler at your boy. Like, that's why they do it, man. But these guys, they are absolute fundamentalists, right? These guys are out of their mind. So the reason why I want to combine those stories is for a simple reason. You are making the argument that you want to stop you want to stop abortions, but you're also making you're creating a scenario for more unwanted pregnancies. Abortions are used to end unwanted pregnancies. Full stop. 100% of the time. 100% of the time. I don't want a kid for X reason or Y reason or Z reason. Doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it is an unwanted pregnancy. I was raped. It's incest. It was an oops. It was, like, it's not the right financial time, X, Y, Z. All of those reasons, in my eyes, are totally fucking valid. Why are you setting up a situation where more people have unwanted pregnancies?
Because it's not about the pregnancy, Jay.
There it is.
It's about controlling people's behaviors. Because again, the part of the thing about being a religious fundamentalist is you want every single person to also practice under the things that you believe humanity should live by. Because they'll go to hell or something. I don't know. I don't know the reason why Catholics give a shit so much about this stuff.
It's something about an eye under it. I don't know. Like, it's all about being under their eye.
Like, he talks about how, like, it's like, I'm a Catholic father of 3. Like this dude is literally like, hey, if I'm in the Senate, I wouldn't vote for any judge for the Supreme Court who didn't believe that Griswold versus Connecticut was wrongly decided law. Yep.
Okay, cool, bro. I'm super glad you're not. Because you're a fucking lunatic.
Yeah, quite.
You're an absolute lunatic. And it's funny because we are literally like I was thinking about this. I was talking to my wife about it, and like I could feel myself quite literally just getting angrier and angrier as I talked about it. And I realized this is partly our fault. Like, I don't mean like people who don't vote and stuff like that. Those people are real pieces of shit. I don't mean them. I'm talking about people who do vote. Part of this is our fault. The people on the left who do vote and vote sensibly. We make the wrong argument. We often use the argument of this is not fair to women. This is wrong to women. This is about body autonomy and things like that. And it is.
I feel like I know where you're going.
It is. Like, it's 100% are those things. But we make the wrong argument. Here's the argument we need to be making. And not an argument to the right wing, but against the right wing, to voters. This is the argument you should be making. This doesn't make any fucking sense. That's it. If you don't want people to have abortions, why are you setting up a situation where more people will have unwanted pregnancies?
I mean, that's what we've said for a long time.
That's the argument.
You can't be anti-abortion and also not pro, safe sex, pro, family planning, like pro contraceptives. Like,
right.
If you truly don't want abortions, you should be like firing birth control and IUDs and condoms and all sorts of shit like into the crowds for free.
Yeah, just fucking take it.
Like
ortho-tricycline, baby. Let's fucking boom.
You don't want to have a kid? That's cool. The government will provide you with any form of contraceptive you need to make sure that doesn't happen, so you don't have to get an abortion. Problem solved.
Should be the argument.
Except it's not actually about abortion entirely. They also don't want you fucking your girl or your guy before you're married.
That's it. Bingo.
Because sex is solely about contraception, Jay. Isn't it weird how I feel like the only people that use these sex should only be for contraceptive argument is probably someone who's never given an orgasm to somebody else.
100%. That's 100% accurate. 100% accurate. You know, one of the known statements of the right wing is, can you guys please stop making stories about the clitoris? It's not real. It's not real. That's a fantasy. It's like a Marvel movie. It's not real. No, for them, it's not real, right? Because they don't have sex for pleasure, right? That's the argument they make. They have sex just for procreation, like a bunch of fucking robots. I wouldn't trade my political philosophy for anything to have this. For anything. But you make the point about punishing people for having sex. That's correct, right? That's 100% correct. So I take that, and I made this statement earlier on Twitter, at Look Forward Show, and I'm going to run with it right now. Yeah. You want to get a heads up as to where this shit is going next? Allow me to tell you what it is. Allow me to be a soothsayer. I'll be Kreskin the fucking magician. They will come after porn next. That's the next move. After they push up all of this shit, they will come after porn next. Because it's not about just having sex. It's about what's in that dirty fucking brain of yours that's getting you guys all fucking horned up. They want to punish you for having those thoughts. Because remember, in like Catholic religion, you thought it, you did it. Right? So you can't.
Funny thing. We're not even a fucking Catholic nation.
Doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. That guy fucking, whatever the fuck,
Blake Master Race.
Yeah, Blake Master Race. This guy's all about it. This guy says, fuck that. You aren't allowed to have sex. So the idea of getting if you're trying to promote a abstinence only perspective, you have to go after porn. You have to go after porn.
On the plus side, if they did decide to go after porn, we at least know we'd be safe because there'd be at least one Republican senator that we know for sure would not vote to ban porn, Ted. In any way, shape, or form.
Ted, don't you? It was an intern. No, it wasn't. Don't do that. Don't you dare lie. But I mean, that's the thing. Is what else do you need proposed to you to lose in order to fight?
And that's the kind of and that's the shit that really beguiles me is like all this stuff that they're doing is not popular with their voters.
No.
And because they've never had but because their voters have never forced them to pay a price for their idiocy. They just think they have free reign to be like, oh, let's fucking rock and roll. Like, we're getting Roe knocked down. Like, let's throw all the bad shit craziness against the wall. And I'm like, who wants this? Who the fuck wants this? What?
Dude,
I have
no idea.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like who fucking wants this? Like, what billionaire donor wants to ban fucking porn?
Peter
and
Thiel?
Contraceptives.
Yeah, Peter Thiel's like, yeah, get rid of it. Like, what, dude? Peter Thiel, have you never made?
Peter Thiel's like, what do I care? Like I don't care. Doesn't matter to me.
I'm super rich and insane.
Yes.
But I do wonder. Like, I truly do wonder about that. Like, do people not see this coming? That's the next one, dude. Like, and again, what do you need?
That's the other funny thing about this Blake Masters dude, by the way. Like, so he's apparently another like one of those Peter Thiel guys. Like he's funded by Peter Thiel. You're Catholic. Why would you take Peter Thiel's money? Peter Thiel's gay.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how those principles go out the window when it
means nothing. This shit means nothing. It means nothing, dude. He would blow Peter Thiel if it meant that he could get into power to restrict people's rights to like get gay married. He'd be like, oh, whatever, Peter Thiel, I'll do it. Like he doesn't. They have zero morals because they are like that's who they are fundamentally. Who they are. He doesn't give a shit. So I don't. I can't pretend to be surprised. Like I actually kind of refuse to be surprised. But it is incredibly interesting to watch these guys have the gall, right? You and I like kind of went back and forth about this earlier, and I posted like there's one of two things that are happening right now. They're bringing all of this shit up before the midterms, which is crazy, dude. Like, you don't, like, that's how you know Mitch McConnell had nothing to do with the strategy, right? Because Mitch McConnell been like, everybody shut the fuck up.
Mitch McConnell's strategy is no strategy. He's like, don't talk about anything.
Shut the fuck up, right? You don't say anything. You get roadkilled in the summer. You glide your ass. I don't even get happy about it. Like, oh, it happened. That's what the court said. You don't say anything. You get into the midterms. You win over the Senate in the House. Then once you're in there, then you start up for contraception, fucking condoms. It's all gone. That's when you go do your crazy. But these guys, this is one of two.
But you can't. But you can't do it then either, because it's not like you're going to get the shit signed into law right now. You got to wait till 2024 for that.
No. But I'm saying as far as the states.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like you can get the shit done in the states, right? But like you got to keep like everybody in the states like shut up, be quiet. We're going to do all that shit after. Yeah, just be cool, baby.
Be cool.
Right. That's it. Right.
Mitch McConnell's fucking like holding a gun to Rick Scott, like, tell that bitch to settle down.
Right, exactly. Whose wallet is that? It's mine. It says badass motherfucker in it. Like, that's weird, Mitch, for you to have that. That's I don't really care for that. Like, Mitch, be cool. So like it's like this idea of like they could have done that, but they couldn't keep it under wraps. And I think part of it is they think that liberals won't do anything, even in the face of all of this, which says a lot about you. Like, as a listener, that says a lot about what they think of you. That even though they know that this shit will piss you off, they are banking on the fact that you won't fight. If that's not enough of a reason to fight, I don't know what is, right?
Well,
they think that you won't.
I also agree with your stances. They just can't fucking help themselves.
They can't help themselves. Like, that's the other part. They're just like, fuck, just tell them we're going to ban condoms. Oh, we've been doing this shit for 40 years. Oh, there it is, banning condoms. Oh, thank God. We got it out. Like, they've been dying to say that shit. They've been dying to say it. But the big thing to take away from that is that they don't think you'll fight. They don't think you'll fight. And they're partially right. Given our history, they're partially right.
Well, it might also be because they know they know they've got the game rigged as well.
Yeah, but look, they got the game rigged, but they only got it rigged to a certain extent. If we come out in droves, man, they can't.
It's pretty fucking rigged in a certain amount of states.
Oh, in certain states, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there are the Georgia races, right? Like Raphael Warnock's race. Don't sleep on that shit. You can win that race. You can win. You can beat Herschel Walker soundly. I mean, it should be a fucking walk away anyway, but you know, he's got an R next to his name. But you can beat that guy soundly. You can. Look, get that guy on the record. Look, he's Herschel Walker ain't smart. Get that guy on the record saying that he's totally fine with banning all fucking contraception. Get him on the record saying that shit. Get him on the record. He'll say it. Oh, yeah, I'm against it. Even though, you know how many chicks I was fucking in the NFL? Absolutely. Right? He'll say it. Because he's not that bright. Get him on the record. And then run it against them. Ram that shit, as they love to say with gay marriage, ram that shit down their fucking throats. Every last one of them, man. If you're a Democrat running in a race in the midterms, get your opponent to fucking say that shit on the record. And then take that shit like a goddamn hammer and smash them over the head every chance you get with that shit. Don't let them equivocate. Oh, I'd be like, the rest of your party seems to be on that. You don't agree with your party, right? Make them either an enemy of their own party because they won't stand up for that shit, or make them say it and use it as a weapon against them. Stop playing patty cakes with them and use it as a weapon. That's what you do. But they believe that the left won't fight. They're partially right. Oh, I give up. I'm upset. The squad didn't do what I wanted to do. Grow up. Now's the fight. You wanted a fight? You wanted a lopsided fight? It's 6-3 in the Supreme Court. Like, you got a 3-2 count. Hey, what the fuck you want? What you want? Can't come to the rescue. I know America loves like this, like superhero shit. I do. Hello, look at the back of my fucking, look at my background, right? But America loves a superhero. They like a superhero who shows up at the end. Saves the day at the last minute. Save the day, like, get the cat out of the tree way before the tree is on fire. Like, we don't need to make this shit harder.
Well, it would have been nice to do that. So
yeah, but we don't. It was stupid.
Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.